And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called the Perfumer, a game of real fragrance. Now, interestingly enough, and the kind of gimmick of the Perfumer is there's lots of games that rely on sight. There's even some games that rely on touch, but this is one of the first games I've ever played that relies on the sense of smell. An olfactory game here, and you're going to be taking these strips here. This one's fur, and you can smell these strips, and that's necessary. It's almost like a deductive game trying to figure out what smells are what. Let me show you. Now, players are going to be bottling different perfumes to win this game. And at the beginning of each game, players are going to get a player sheet here, and they're going to get a random set of perfumes. Each of these perfumes is going to need different ingredients. There are 7 different ingredients scattered throughout the board, like lime, lavender, and rose. And each of these has strips next to it, and you can scratch and sniff these, and they smell like lavender. Delicious. And so you have these 7 different ingredients. You're going to take one of each of those strips, and you're going to shuffle them, and you're going to take some colored strips, and without looking at which one you're putting in each one, you're going to slide them into this. So you have an orange, and you have a blue, and you have a gray, pink, green, purple, and yellow. And the goal of the game, or one of the goals of the game, is to figure out what those colors are. See, I need to get lime into this one. Well, what color is lime? Each player has a handful of these vials, 7 different colors, and as the game goes by, you are going to be trying to put these vials to match these, because if you do, you're going to get these points at the end of the game. On a player's turn, they have 5 actions. These actions can be moving to an adjacent spot. So I can go 1, 2, 3. That would be 3 of my actions. At a spot, you can take an ingredient from that spot and put it in front of you. Players have a limit of 5 of them. Or if you're at a spot and you want to fulfill that perfume, bottle this perfume, you can discard those ingredient tokens you've been picking up. You will immediately get that many points and keep this perfume in front of you. Later on, you can take an action if you're in the middle, and you can take this token, and if you bottle a perfume, you can take this token, and at the end of every turn, it gives you 2 points. Now, someone can steal that from you, but they'll have to bottle 2 different perfumes. Then the next person would have to bottle 3 different perfumes. Then whoever has it at any given point, though, is going to be scoring 2 points at the end of each of their turn. When one of these is taken, it's going to be replaced, and there's different point levels. Some of them are worth 5 points and also will give you a benefit. And if you play the advanced game, some of them will be even worth 7 points and give you various benefits and possibly free ingredients, but they also take more ingredients to do these. And when all these are gone off these, you'll have a certain pile based on the number of players in the game. That's the end of the game. Or in the advanced game, you can play extra rounds. Each player also has the opportunity at the beginning of each round, and if you're playing a basic game, you play just 1 round, but to take these, and these are special characters, like here, this gets an extra, once per game, you get an extra action point on one of your turns. Or here you can have an extra ingredient in front of you each turn. Or here you can take a fragrance card in a neighboring location instead, and I'll explain that in a moment. You have 5 actions, and one of these actions can be to research, take this token, which lets you take one of these and keep it for you for a round. But at the end of your turn, for free, wherever you are, you will take one of the strips of that type. So maybe I'm at lime, I can take lime, and then I can also choose one of the colors. So I might take lime and orange, smell them both while other players are going, and try to determine whether they're the same or not. You know, are they different? What are they exactly? Trying to figure that out. And like I said, as you figure out these scents as turns go by, you have to put those scents back at the beginning of your turn, but then you'll take other ones. You're going to be slowly putting down the different colors here, trying to figure out what they are. And for an action on your turn, you can say bottle. That locks those into place. And you want to lock them all into place, and at the end of the game, we will reveal them. So at the end of the game, we will pull this out and say, white champagne. That is the blue one. And, I thought blue was fur. So I don't get any points for that. But if I did get points for it, it'd be 5, 10, 15 points. These points are going to be added to the points you've collected over the course of the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, the whole game is based on these strips. Now, the folks who made the game said that they used a new special way to put these on here. These are essentially scratch and sniff, but they promise that these will last scratching, 10,000 times? That's a lot of times. Even if you scratch one of these strips 100 times per game, which seems a little high, but let's say it happens, that's still 100 games worth. And they also said that they have replacement packs that they'll be selling for this game. But I don't think people will play it that many times. I could be wrong, but still, that's enough, I think, for most people's needs. And they do work well. And what's really fascinating to me is I smell each one. I'm like, ooh, that smells good. That smells good. And I'm smelling them. I'm like, oh, this is definitely lime. I can definitely smell that. But when it's inside these here, and I smell it, suddenly my mind goes bonkers. I was like, oh, that's definitely lime. And then I smell like, are these the same? Are they different? And that's very fascinating. I really like that part of the game. That part of the game is amazingly cool. You know, as you're sitting there and you're smelling and trying to figure it out and eventually locking your things in, really cool. It feels like a little deduction game that uses your nose rather than your eyesight, which is what you're normally using for deduction games. So that's really cool. The rest of the game where you go around and pick up stuff and deliver it and get potions, it's a little mediocre. So that mediocre with cool makes a decent game. It's fun. It has this cool gimmick which works. I wish the game was I almost wish that whole running around and picking up things and bottling them and going in the middle and getting that 2 points at the end of every turn, which is kind of a pain because if one person gets it for 1, then I need 2, then I need 3, and you don't want someone to have that too long because they're going to be churning out a lot of victory points. But that part almost feels like a distraction from the rest of the game. Like, ooh, I'm going to go get this. Now, the game is beautiful. It really is. It looks cool. I like the different scents that they have. They're unique, but at the same time, they're similar enough that I kept mixing them up. I have a really hard time doing it. The basic game, advanced game, the rules are a little difficult to maneuver because they're certainly obviously translated rules, and there's a basic and advanced game. Either one is fine. The advanced game is not that much more complex than the basic game. But I think this is a game you should try out. First of all, because of the experience. Hey, this is something unique and different and smelling, and it's a cool experience. But beyond that gimmick, right? Yeah, there is a cool game in there. Trying to figure it out. Now, the only flaw I found in the game, really, other than that picking up and delivering the things is a little mundane. There's a lot of games that do that. Is that you can see what everyone else is doing. I almost wish the game came with shields because if you lock in, especially your one ingredient one. So as we look at these, all right, if I look at the player board here, you can see that this one here needs 3 ingredients. So if I put a yellow here, and you're watching my board, you know that I think one of these is yellow, but you don't know which one. But if I put a yellow here, then you know that I think that fur is yellow. And that's giving information to other players. Now, I might be wrong, but if you're sitting there going, wow, fur, I can't tell if it's yellow or pink, and I look at your sheet, I'm like, oh, he said yellow? Okay, good. Then we agree on picking it too. So I almost wish that was kept hidden somehow. It's not a big deal. I don't think it's game-breaking, but still, pretty cool idea. I love the theming. It's a game about perfuming bottles. I mean, this is not the first game about that theme, but this is the first game that actually uses the sense of smell. I don't think we're going to see the sense of smell sweeping board games the next year, 15 games. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again, though. It's a pretty neat concept that makes for a fun game, the Perfumer. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!